Murali, please talk about the specific issues with focus to the people with disabilities. Over to you.
Thank you, Jan Sanskriti, for inviting me to be here to deliver and speak on the issues of disabled persons in the perspective of the new education policy 2020. At the outset, I would like to apologize for not being able to communicate in a medium that most of you would understand. I'm compelled to speak in English because my fluency in Malayalam is limited to general this thing. When one-to-one talk, I can speak, but I cannot. I'm not in a position to deliver a lecture. I'll be fumbling for words. So excuse me for that. And thank once again to Jan Sanskriti for organizing such an important lecture series. Actually, I've been listening to various lecture series that Jan Sanskriti has been conducting during this pandemic situation. Actually, Jan Sanskriti has utilized this opportunity provided by the pandemic situation to initiate such a lecture series. Actually, it needs to be appreciated for that. Unfortunately, due to various reasons and preoccupations with various other things, I have not been able to undertake a detailed and in-depth study of the new education policy as said. But the reading that I've had through it is actually, it is not in favor of persons with disabilities. It actually militates against various earlier policies that the government had initiated over the years. I would like to recall when the draft was introduced in 2019, in July, when the government actually published the 2019 draft, Professor Prabhat Patnaik actually wrote a piece. It was published in various places. Various links were available. It was published in various other articles also had come. Prabhat had made a remark that what is cooked in the kitchen is not decided in the kitchen. It's a very, these are some generic remarks that I'm making, but what is cooked in the kitchen is not decided in the kitchen, meaning to imply that it is, and he invoked a Russian proverb actually to say that, by implication, education or a policy on education is not a standalone commodity. And I'm using the word commodity on purpose. There are various things that go into making of what is taught, how it is taught, and who should be taught. It has always been pursuit of a certain economic, social, and political agenda. Second, unlike the earlier draft, 2019 draft, which was subjected to immense criticism from various quarters, the response to this policy has been the opposite. The opposition has been muted. In a sense, we have also seen various celebrities and fierce opponents of this government come out lauding its various provisions. People are unable to see behind the smoke screen of the big bombastic words and phrases used in the document. The third aspect is that this policy has been adopted without any debate in Parliament. It is against a democratic concept of the very nature of democracy. Like many other important policy decisions, the government, using the pandemic situation, has misused the pandemic situation, has rushed and is going and pursuing its agenda. Unfortunately, even while criticizing earlier policies, this policy does not provide a critique of what went wrong with the earlier policies. There is just, as far as my reading goes, there is just one paragraph that talks about the it actually analyzes the earlier policy, earlier education policy. It does not come forward with any data on where we have failed, why we have failed. Now I'll come to the impact on disabled proper. Policies that have been pursued over the years, what has been its impact, and whether this new education policy provides an opening to take things forward. As all of us know, the directive principles of the Indian Constitution talks of free and compulsory education to all children below the age of 15. The government from time to time has actually been formulating various schemes and policies on education. However, as far as education for the disabled are concerned, inclusive education was a dream until the enactment of the Right to Education Act The RTE also initially did not address the issue of students with disabilities. It was only after agitations and protests that children with disabilities were included in the EWS category and various other provisions are made. So, but now Post 2016, December 2016, we saw the enactment of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act. That act has several provisions which actually target, talk about education for disabled children in schools, in higher educations, etc. Various policies and various, it has laid down a framework on this. But this act actually follows from the concept actually advocated by the United Nations Convention on Rights of Persons with Disabilities. As you know, India had signed, is a signatory to this convention. In 2008, we had signed, one of the first countries that had signed the UNCRPD. And consequent to that, we had passed the legislation called the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act. The RPD Act contains various provisions that address concerns of students with disabilities. But earlier, despite various policies, laws, etc., being in place, children with disabilities still continue to be discriminated against, and access to education is still a far cry. Even in 2020 also, we will find that. Various statistics are there. I will not go into that currently. I'll just go into it later. What are the reasons actually, what we find? First is that there are various attitudinal barriers. When we talk of barriers, generally people only talk in terms of barriers, the physical barriers, but there are also something called attitudinal barriers that we also need to look into. There are preconceived notions that about students with disabilities or people with disabilities as such, about the disability, disability is actually equated with incapacity or inequality, incapacity or inability actually, which is actually a wrong thing. As Raman rightly said, our attitude towards disability, we look at it from our lens, not from the experience of disabled people. We need to look at issues from people with disabled people actually. One of the finest examples I would like to cite in this context is of Stephen Hawking. Hawking, as you know, I need not explain about what Hawking was, what his theories were, what his writings were, what his findings were. But all of us know that physically, his body, none of his body was actually totally non-functional except for his brain. And how he could, despite having such a body, if we were to look at his body, physical body alone, we would actually judge him to be incompetent, incapable of doing anything. But what a wonder he was. So, I need not elaborate on all this thing, but that is there for all of you. I'm just citing just one example. What our experience at the grassroots has actually shown over the years is that the struggles to get students into school, get them educated, actually begins very early in life. It begins with innumerable hurdles are there. First is you require a certificate to get admitted to a school, certificate citing that you are qualifying, that you are a disabled person. Getting that certificate itself is a huge, enormous task that is there. Even after RPD provides for the RTE actually provides for inclusive education. Students should be admitted to the schools, etc. It talks about, but EWS category also provides for admission of disabled students. They are actually talking about. But what it shows is actually that schools on one pretext or the other actually discourage students from disabled students from joining these mainstream schools, and often they are asked to go to special school. This is more pronounced when it comes to students who have a child with multiple disability, cerebral palsy, intellectual disability, etc. I knew of a girl called, one of the case that came to us last year was of a girl with cerebral palsy. She was certified as having an IQ of 78 by the government-run IHAS, Indian Institute of Human Behavior and Allied Sciences, Shadra, Dilshad Garden. Despite being eligible for admission in the disadvantaged category, for which she was entitled, the private school in which she was admitted, refused to give her admission, that she had to take admission in the regular batch. Admission in the EWS category would have offered her free schools, free scholarship, etc., which was after that. Once she was enrolled in school, various other barriers were created. She was not provided a scribe which she is entitled to. She was not provided a special educator which she is entitled to. All these hurdles were also there while she was pursuing that. This actually is an indication that even while there are laws and policies in place, there are various issues that current education scenario is such where we have a biased and prejudiced administrations, barriers are there in environment, secluded learning environment, etc. All these actually act as impediments for students and children with disabilities to pursue higher education. You see, this I'll also like to cite in this news item that appeared last year in Hindustan Times, which had actually talked about the failure to enroll students in the EWS category. Hindustan Times reported last year that 86.9% of seats under the EWS category were unfilled in private schools. So this is intentional. This is intentional, and that this is one thing that we have. And this in a government setup, a government that under the AAP government, which claims to have which claims to emphasize on education and makes all claims on education. This is one thing. What are the 2011 census? I'll just give some figures actually now. The 2011 census says that 45% of India's disabled population is illiterate. And of those who are disabled literate also, 59% have completed class 10, and only 59 complete have class 10 of those who are literate. The UNESCO actually brought out a report in 2009 on the state of education in India. The report says an estimated 7.8 million children under the age of 19 live with disabilities. The huge population of children with disabilities. Among 5-year-olds with disabilities, 3/4 do not go to any educational institution. This is a damning indictment of the policies that have been pursued, which says among the 5-year-olds, 3/4 do not go to any educational institutions. Nor do 1/4 of the children with disability population aged between 5 and 19. So I'm not going to all those details, but this actually gives an indication of the status of school education in the country. National Sample Survey also says that 44% of children with disabilities are actually out of school. So there are various other reports also. World Bank, WHO report also says various things as far as disability is concerned. There are reports from the Unified District Information of School Education, and all such reports actually indicate that children with disabilities have been left out of the school and college education. And as it go higher into the education sector, after school education, you will find the RPD Act actually provides for 5% reservation in higher educational institutions. But what happens, you'll see year after year, the earlier act actually, the Persons with Disabilities Act 1995 actually provided for 3% reservation in higher educational institutions. But even in universities like Delhi, these seats were actually like vacant year after year. We couldn't find students because students are not coming out of school. The outcomes from schools itself are actually very low. So all these things actually point out that there is a need for the change in education policies. Of course, there is a need to change education policy. Its direction needs to be changed. It needs to be more responsive and inclusive of persons with disabilities. But does the proposal that is coming out now actually it's not a proposal anymore. It has been actually adopted, undemocratically adopted, but it is adopted. Now it's a current document that is there before us, it's current policy now. Does this policy address issues of persons with disabilities? I would say it doesn't. It talks about various, it's all through the document actually, in various places of the document, it talks about inclusiveness, it talks about equity, etc. But it is not actually happening, because it will not happen because provisions are not going to be made. So NEP actually, despite having enabling provisions, the NEP actually in 3.5, section 3.5, it says that socio-economically disadvantaged groups, which would include disabled children, would be taught mainly through national and state institutes of open schools actually. So instead of bringing disabled children to school, what you are now proposing, or the current policy actually proposes, is to send these children to open school. Open medium of learning is being proposed. So privatization actually, even otherwise, is going to throw students out of school, disadvantaged and marginalized students out of school. And now the road that is being actually proposed is the new open school that is there. It's actually another thing that is proposed and that would actually militate against the RT and also to be disadvantaged disabled children and marginalized is the creation of school complexes that this talks about. The school complexes actually militate against the concept of neighborhood schools that we had after various struggles and various reports that neighborhood schools were actually brought about. Now this concept actually talks about merger of such schools into big school complexes. One, neighborhood schools were actually encouraged because people from neighborhood school actually go to the school. Various issues of transportation and various problems could be handled over. Now this merger of schools and creation of school complexes would actually militate against would be disadvantaged because disabled children would have mobility issues. They don't have transport to reach those schools, and there will be various who will go to take them to school. Various such issues will actually crop up. So now this, and what would be encouraged instead is the other concept of open schools and learning from homes. Actually, learning from home is actually already being promoted through this online education, which will actually be given a much more bigger shape in the days to come. Now we talk about access. Actually, access. The document also talks about access. Actually, and access it's not the first time that access being talked about, but earlier also been access talked about. But the limit, actually, the talk of access is limited. It's a very narrow approach actually that is adopted towards access. Actually, you see, this RPD Act actually recognizes 21 conditions as disabling, and each disability has a unique condition, has a unique issue that needs to be addressed uniquely. No two disabilities are the same. So each disability has a unique issue, and the solution is also unique. So, but access in this document or various other documents have been understood purely in terms of physical access. It limits itself to toilets, ramps, etc. But does it talk about access to curriculum? Access where does it talk about rights of person disabled? It talks about it. It says that study material, etc., should be provided as per the requirement. Reasonable accommodation talks about as per the requirement of each student. For students with visual impairment, it should be provided in braille or through audio, means of audio. For students with hearing impairment, there should be provision of sign language, etc. be made. So all and special educators also. So for each and every disability, the issue is different. It is not for a person with wheelchair also. You see, many schools have actually are 2-floor and 3-floor buildings. A wheelchair user, if he's studying in a higher class that is located on a different and on a higher floor, how is that access going to be provided there also? So when you talk about ramps, actually, ramp is more normally constructed only at the entrance point to the school or college or any other institution. Actually, it's the Naam ke vaste, it's sort of what we say generally. So are there going to be lifts in such schools? Has the provision being made for this, etc.? Even what the statistics say as of currently what we access, only 22.4% of schools have disabled friendly toilet. But I'm talking about Indian schools, entire country, only 22.4% of schools have disabled friendly toilets. And in around 20% of schools, there are no ramps at all. Only 20% of schools actually have ramps. So 80%, even in today's conditions, don't have. So whatever tall promises you may be making, implementation again is a huge thing that we need to talk about. So RPD Act says about reasonable accommodation. And throughout the entire NEP also in various places, it talks about equity, it talks about RPD Act. This was actually missing in the 2019 Act. So we welcome the fact that the RPD Act and the equality and equity is actually being talked about in this document. But at the same time, though it talks about it, the outcomes will actually be different, because the proposal is for commercialization and privatization of education. So both actually, they are both contradictory in nature. This is one thing. Second thing we need to understand, another thing that we need to understand is that all of us know that a whole range of students actually go to special schools actually. This document does not have a single word on special school. I understand, we do understand that special schools are not governed by the HRD ministry, which is going to be renamed the education ministry. It was the education ministry earlier also. Now, this education of disabled children of school, those attending special school are not governed by the education department. It is covered by the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. It's got a separate thing. Raman, are you indicating something?
No. Go ahead.
Okay. I heard some noise. I thought you were trying to ask me to stop.
No, not yet.
Okay. Okay. So this actually does not talk, not a single word on special education. So what is going to happen? What is going to be the status of special schools? Special schools are actually not recognized. There are very few special schools that are actually run in the government sector. Rest of the schools are actually in the private sector. They charge hefty fees. And there are no regulation also about the school. That's a different thing. But this actually doesn't talk about. It does talk about special educators again. Special educators are actually taught. The courses are actually done by the Rehabilitation Council of India. That's under the Act of Parliament. Rehabilitation Council of India was established, which actually designs the special courses. But these courses have since long not been revised. And again, to invoke the UNCRPD, the United Nations Convention, the RCI Act needs to be amended to harmonize in provisions with the UNCRPD. It has not been amended. So unless the RCI Act is amended, its courses are also made in tune with the new education, with the current this thing. That system is also not going to improve. Now, as far as higher education is concerned, actually, I talked about higher education 5% reservations, actually, and this thing. But you see, even despite that, again, an attitudinal barrier that I talked about, medical students, there are various cases that have actually come up last year, this year also, where students have actually gone to courts to actually students with visual impairment, with hearing impairment, locomotor disability, approaching the courts that despite having the requisite qualification and despite passing the examinations, they are being denied admission to MBBS courses. Courts have had to intervene in various cases and settle the matter right. This has also in Kerala also, there was a student of wanting to pursue a physiotherapy course where she had to seek the intervention of the Kerala High Court. So these are also the various such things are actually happening. But given the fact that the thrust of the policy is towards privatization, commercialization, education, it is needed to say that who will stand deprived and who will benefit from this policy. This policy, again, one thing again that we need to understand, this doesn't in any way mention about reservations actually. So RPD Act talks about reservation. When this policy does not talk about reservation, how is it going to be? What is going to happen is a question that is left being unanswered. Whatever it may be talk of equality, etc., we may talk about. You see, and another thing, the privatization again. When higher education institutions also emphasis of this document is on privatization. So it will deprive students again, but most of students with disabilities actually come from poorer economic backgrounds. And economic backgrounds, they come from poorer economic backgrounds is one thing, and disability actually makes them much more poorer. We also need to understand, and we need to underscore this fact, that disability accentuates poverty actually. One, they come from poorer economic backgrounds, and disability actually accentuates poverty because disability actually entails additional expenditure. When the government policies are being made, actually, unfortunately, whichever government I'm not talking about, does not factor in the fact that disability actually entails additional expenditure. So this additional expenditure has to be factored in when we talk about disability. So this is actually the various such things are there actually. I can go on and talk about various other things also. Teachers training, I have actually talked about. And there is a thing called language formula actually. This talks about a 3-language formula. See, provision, the PWD Act, the Persons with Disability Acts of 1995, had given the option of deaf children actually learning to a single language actually.
Yeah.
Language is all about communication. Language is actually based on phonetics. We learn language through phonetics, through the voices, the audio. But for a person with hearing impairment, sound makes no sense. So for him to learn a language and not only pick up what you're teaching in a particular language is itself a big challenge. Whichever language we were talking about, it's a big challenge. It does not make, makes no difference whether it's English, Hindi, or whichever language you're talking about. For him, picking up a language in itself is a big challenge. Now this document, this talks about a 3-language formula as opposed to what the RPD talks about. RPD also has a provision that disabled children need to learn only 1 language. So this is actually in contravention or contradictory to what the RPD Act talks about. But this, fortunately, this document talks about sign language, recognition to sign language, teaching in sign language in schools. Whether it will happen or not is a different issue, but it does talk, that does talk about it. But there is nothing called an Indian Sign Language as of now.
Yeah.
There are different languages. It's all Kerala signing may be different, and Tamil Nadu signing may be different. So there are various, like various Indian languages, there are various sorts of sign language. We may call it dialect or whatever you may call it. There are various ways in which people actually sign. So there is no.
You can call it vernacular sign language.
Sign language, vernacular sign language, whatever you may call it. There is no universal or recognized Indian sign language. The government, after much effort, actually set up an Indian Sign Language Training and Research Center. The center has come up with a 300-word dictionary now. It's got only now 3,000 word odd dictionary now. So 3,000-word dictionary. So various, now it is still in a developing stage. But whether people through the entire country would accept one language, actually, we have been actually opposing this 1-language formula as such. Now, but sign language is an entirely different concept, whatever it might be. Whether people in other regions would accept this one single language is also an issue. One more serious thing that has actually come up, even during this COVID period, the issue that has actually come up is a question of mental health, actually. Mental health has become a serious, he's actually acquired serious proportions, actually. Even earlier, we had an issue, but we sought to not to recognize that issue. But in this pandemic period, actually, more people are actually talking about mental health issues. But this document actually, unfortunately, fails to recognize the gravity of the problem. It does talk about counselors in schools, etc., but it does not address the issue, the gravity in the manner in which it needs to be addressed. You see, there are various.
Now it's time, Murali, for us to.
Can you give me 1 minute to conclude? I'll just
sure, definitely.
Okay. I'm just. I'll conclude with 1 or 2 observations.
Mental health one, yeah. Please.
There are various reports actually that talk about the increasing number, especially in the pandemic period. There are especially impacted students very badly. There have been cases of students resorting suicides, being drawn into depression, etc. But this policy does not consider those. Does not take into consideration those issues also. So various other issues are there. I'm not. There are a range of issues actually, which this education policy brings before us. Various issues. It has attempted to address some issues, but without going into what was the fault in the earlier policies. Actually, it should have actually addressed what was the policy. It does not provide any data of what were the lapses in the earlier policies. When you're framing a new policy, you first need to point out what were the lapses of the early policy. Actually, this has not come about. Unfortunately, again, most of the disability activists in our country or disability organizations actually, because there are reference to equity, equality, and RPD Act, and etc., they have welcomed this policy. But as an organization that works among people with disabilities in the country, various organizations affiliated to us, we do not accept the proposals that are made in this policy. We say that the policies of privatization and commercialization will lead to more deprivation, and more disabled students will be thrown out of schools and will have to either sit at home or pursue their education through open school. Once again, thank you very much for providing me this opportunity to.
Now, Murali, one of the important points that you told about, see, access to technology, how inclusive and how accessible is going to be the technologies that is required for people with disabilities under this new policy is something that is a major issue. For example, visually impaired students, how can are they thinking about providing them some kind of technological assistance? If at all it is provided, who will access it and who will not access it? This is something they have written about the technology, but how are they going to do it? Is there any clarity about it?
As far as the policy is concerned, there is no clarity actually. The RPD Act also, as I've been referring to earlier also, RPD Act actually talks in terms of providing free.
Right.
It talks of providing assistive devices free of cost. It doesn't talk of any economic barrier also. No economic qualification also talks about. It actually talks about providing assistive devices free. Assistive devices could mean anything actually.
Yeah.
It can be a cane. It can be a smartphone with accessibility features. For like you're trying to point out actually, a smartphone, for example, many smartphones actually earlier when you has to phone, there were no audio features in phone. You could just use it as an instrument to listen. Now you can there are speech to text features in it, text to speech features in it. This actually help people with visual impairment actually.
Precisely.
So such technologies also need to be. So nowadays, when a foreign online education has become the norm, actually, various people actually, though they may have a phone at home and they can maybe be listening to lecture, this sort of technology and software are actually adaptive technology is being denied to them. Like in the case of people with visual deafness also, I'm talking hearing impairment. What is this online education for them? A teacher is lecturing somewhere. They are sitting in front of the screen, just seeing what is happening actually. Apart from that, nothing is being imparted to them. And also various other, I don't know whether Sigurna pointed out, but what we need to understand also in this education for various people with disability, not only disabled people, in other ways also, in school education also, now mothers or somebody has to sit with the child during this online education process. So it is actually affecting employment also. So during the pandemic period, many people have lost their jobs. That is a different thing. Yeah. But many people are actually have to leave their employment or their jobs
just
to actually
take care of the
child's education, not take care of the child. Take care of the child is an entirely different thing.
Yeah,
but to attend to the child's schooling. So assistive devices could mean different for each disability actually. Those are actually not being taken care of. The policy talks about various things. It's actually a sugar-coated pill. You can, how you eat it is an issue. Actually.
I called it a wish list sometimes.
Yes, it's actually a wish list. If it can be implemented, though there are lapses, but if it can be implemented, it's a huge thing. Actually.
Yeah.
But where are the finances going to come from? They're talking about 6% this year. It's not going to happen actually. We need to actually, when we're talking about this thing, we also need to talk about the history. What has been the allocation so far?
Right.
So that also needs to be accounted for.
Okay. The other thing is, see, we have this PWD Act 2016, which has it has its own problems, which we know that they just because of the convention that India has signed, they wanted to have an act and they brought an act. But 2016 Act, has the Kasturirangan committee or the later officials who would have put together this act, have they actually put time to just refer to it? What is it talking about education? What is it talking about the right to education of the people's disability? How do you think about it?
See, when the Kasturi Rangan committee brought about it, they were actually, in fact, I would not say that consultations have not, in fact, our allegation with the 2019, actually, the draft was that there were no consultations were not held. We were not consulted. Various disabled organizations were not consulted. They put one person's name at the end. He had met them in connection with some other issue, and they put his name. That's a different thing. I'm not going to that. But several meetings were held with several groups actually, and in which some disabled people were also invited. But it's not on the formal consultation with the government. It was not held. So the consultations with disability organizations or people working in the field of education, actually, there are various disabled people who are working in the field of education, and there are various organizations who are working in the field of education. They were not consulted. So the report actually does not make 2019 policy draft proposal actually does not make any mention of the RPD Act at all, even not UNCRPD. There is no talk about it. But we from disability organizations, various disability organizations, including ours, actually gave detailed recommendations on the 2019 draft, on the basis of which the government has actually taken up various inputs from there, and actually in this report they've, in the sense that they've actually put in various. Kasturi Rangan report didn't actually talk about anything about it. No, nothing like that. In this report, it talks about RPD Act, various things, inclusive, this thing. I said, equity is written in hundreds of places in the report. We can count various places there. Yeah. But is it actually going to be a reality? Is a question that we need to actually address.
Yeah. So one other thing is about the attitudinal barrier, or what you initially said as the kind of preconceived notions of the teaching community. So, if at all, I mean, I know that the policy is not really bringing in any hope for changing that situation. But as a leader of the organization of people with disability, what kind of roadmap are you seeing about changing this mindset of teachers so that the mainstream spaces also could be occupied by a student with disability? How can we realize this into some kind of reality?
You see, we can't see this question in isolation.
Right.
Remember, it is not just teachers alone. It is actually as a society we have failed.
I agree.
So we can't compartmentalize teachers or the education and see this in isolation. Like education cannot be seen in isolation to the overall political, social, economic context. So we can't see teachers in isolation to that. So a change in attitude has to come about in the society as such. So it has to come about. Even now, the terminologies that are used, like let me talk. We actually approach disability from a perspective of charity. It is still not rights-based. Rights-based. In Kerala also, let me be very frank about this thing. We talk about it in a welfare model. We don't talk about in a rights-based. I'm not talking about any particular government or particular party or something. We still say Shema. What is it called? Shema. What is it? Welfare.
Shema.
We still talk about it in those terms only. We do not approach it from a rights-based and anti-discrimination manner. So approach itself, even where the left is strong, that approach has actually prevailed. So that approach has to be changed first from in the midst of political parties, in the midst of and apart from this welfarist approach. See, this government actually, Narendra Modi coined the term Divyang. You relate it to God. One of the most absurd terms that the government has coined.
So then he can put you into the wall, no?
Yes. Now, no need of doing anything there's nothing to do for disabled, because you're all equated with God. You've got all powers. Yeah. So no need of doing anything for you. There's one thing. Second, there is another concept that you use actually of differently abled. Yeah. Some people use specially able. There's a various. All these are wrong notions, and its approach is totally a charity-based approach and a welfare-based approach. That unless that approach is changed, we cannot change. We cannot compartmentalize and see students or teachers separate. So that approach towards society has to change, disability organizations definitely have to play a major role in this. We have been actually fighting against these terms and policies and various other things. So we will definitely continue to play that role.
Okay, so this special school, you mentioned it somewhere.
Yes.
There is a notion that most of the people in the society think that special school is the remedy for people with disabilities, and people don't even understand that as per the WHO definition and also as per the PWD Act 2016 definition, we have 21 types of disabilities. People don't actually, whenever we talk about accessibility, we can only talk about physically the difficulties of physically challenged people. Beyond that, we may add some visually impaired that challenges, but the mental issues and various other issues don't even come into the picture when we try to understand disability as such. So from that angle, when the mainstream educators are approaching how can you get a disabled student in between the other students, what kind of possibility is there? How would you suggest, at least those who are hearing this discussion, at least for them, how can this mainstreaming be possible?
See, frankly, I would say inclusivity, or what is written in the RPD Act, or what we have borrowed from the UNCRPD, they are Western concepts. Let me be very clear about it. I'm talking about frankly. You see, I'm not against inclusivity. I'm very much for inclusivity, but we need to also bear in mind these are Western concepts. Within our societal and our framework, the Indian framework, how far it can be carried out is a big question. We can't directly borrow concept from the West and impose it on our country.
That's true.
It's not possible. So we have to evolve our own concepts and how this can be done. In the Indian scenario, special schools are a reality. We can't say that we should do away with special schools tomorrow. Whether the government gives support or does not give support is an entirely different thing. But special schools are a reality, and they are here to stay for a much more longer time. Having said that, let us remember the first special schools were actually started for people with visual impairment. They were special schools that were started for blind, but they are not considered special schools now. Special schools are actually now which cater to people with intellectual disability. Now, more or less, that is how it is defined. People with Down syndrome, people with intellectual disabilities, students with autism, and they are actually admitted to these schools. So, but inclusivity can be introduced, definitely can be introduced in the mainstream schools also. I have seen schools where this has actually happened, and they have been experimenting with this, especially the school that my daughter went to in Springdales in Pusa Road. They had actually done various experiments with actually introducing. They had EWS category even before the RTE actually provided for it. So they had provision for that, in which they actually brought in students with disabilities, various sorts of, including children with intellectual disabilities. They engaged.
That's very important.
Yes. So inclusiveness has to be practiced. Of course, it's easier said than done, but it needs a huge investment for that. Special educators now, for instance, now schools are supposed to have special educators, but schools don't have. They are supposed to have resource centers, are supposed to be there at district level, various other levels. Yeah. It is not there. So we have to look at these realities that are there, and then address those issues that are pending before us first, and go to new issues.